The moment they announced his promotion, I smiled. Not because I meant it. Just, muscle memory. You learn that after a while. You learn how to nod at the right time, clap just long enough, keep your face neutral when something inside you tightens a little more than usual. Everyone, let's give it up for Kyle, our director said, clapping like he'd just discovered oxygen. At 29, stepping into a senior operations lead role. That's not something we see every day. There it was again. That little emphasis. Not something we see every day. People laughed. Light, polite. I joined in. Kyle stood up, straightened his jacket like he'd practiced it in a mirror. Appreciate it, he said, grinning. I'm excited to bring some fresh energy to the team. Fresh energy. Yeah. That didn't sit right. I clapped anyway. And when he glanced at me, just for a second, there was this look. Not even full arrogance. Something quieter. Like he already knew I was supposed to be in that seat. Like he'd taken it, and we both understood it without saying it out loud. I nodded at him. Congrats, man. Thanks, he said, a little too casually. Gonna need your help getting up to speed. Of course you will. I just smiled again. Anytime. 3 weeks earlier, I was the one people came to. Not officially. Titles never really matched reality in that place. But if something broke, systems, timelines, client expectations, it landed on my desk one way or another. I'd been there 8 years. Not flashy years. No big speeches, no dramatic wins. Just, steady. Quietly solving problems before they turned into headlines. I knew where the cracks were. I knew which vendors cut corners, which clients needed hand-holding, which internal processes looked fine on paper but collapsed under pressure. I didn't talk about it much. Didn't need to. People who actually worked knew. The thing about that kind of reputation is, it's invisible to the people who make decisions. They see presentations. Energy. Confidence. They don't see the guy who stays late fixing the stuff that keeps everything from falling apart. Kyle, on the other hand, was very visible. He'd been there a year and a half. Loud in meetings. Quick with ideas. Big on phrases like scaling aggressively and redefining workflow synergy, whatever that meant. People liked him. Especially leadership. I noticed it early, but I didn't push back. I just adjusted. Let him talk. Filled in the gaps later. It worked. For a while. Until the promotion opened up. I didn't even find out I was being considered. I found out after they chose him. That was the first thing that stung. Second was the email. While your contributions have been invaluable. That phrase. Always that phrase. We're looking for a different leadership style moving forward. Different. I read that line 3 times, sitting at my desk while people across the room were already congratulating Kyle. Different. I leaned back, exhaled slow, and just nodded to myself. Okay. That's how we're doing it. That night, I sat at my kitchen table longer than usual. My sister, Marissa, was across from me, scrolling through her phone between bites of takeout. You're quiet, she said without looking up. Long day. She glanced at me then, eyes narrowing slightly. That your version of, I got screwed? I let out a small laugh. Something like that. She set her phone down. What happened? I told her. Not everything. Just enough. She listened without interrupting, which is rare for her. When I finished, she leaned back, arms crossed. So they picked the loud guy over the guy who actually does the work. Pretty much. She nodded slowly. Yeah. That tracks. I smirked. Not helping. I'm not trying to help, she said. I'm trying to keep you from doing something dumb. I'm not gonna do anything dumb. She gave me a look. You're the quiet type. That's worse. I shrugged. It is what it is. She leaned forward slightly. No. It's not. I raised an eyebrow. You're not mad enough, she said. I'm not mad, I replied calmly. She shook her head. See? That's the problem. You should be. I tapped the table lightly. Being mad doesn't fix anything. No, she said. But pretending you're not? That definitely doesn't. I didn't answer that. Because she wasn't wrong. I just didn't show it the way people expected. The first week under Kyle was interesting. He scheduled a lot of meetings. Like, a lot. Just wanna get aligned, he'd say, pacing at the front of the conference room. Make sure we're all moving in the same direction. Which would be fine, if there was a direction. Instead, it was mostly ideas. Big, sweeping changes. We need to streamline vendor communication. We're gonna restructure the reporting pipeline. Let's centralize decision-making so we move faster. On paper, it sounded great. In practice, it meant he was dismantling systems he didn't understand. I tried to step in, gently. Hey, just a heads up, I said after one meeting, catching him by the door. That vendor you want to switch out? They're the only ones who can handle the turnaround time we need. He waved it off. We'll find someone better. We've tried, I said. Twice. It didn't. Yeah, but that was before I came in, he said, smiling like it was a joke. It wasn't. I nodded slowly. Got it. Another time, he pulled me into his office. Walk me through the escalation protocol, he said, leaning back in his chair. I explained it. Step by step. Why each part existed. What usually went wrong. He listened, then tapped his pen. Feels complicated. It is, I said. Because the situations are. He smiled. Or maybe we've just been overthinking it. I met his eyes. Maybe. He grinned, like we were on the same page. We weren't. The humiliation wasn't loud. That's what made it worse. It was in the tone. The way he'd say, let's simplify that, after I explained something. The way he'd rephrase my ideas in meetings like they were his. Like I was saying earlier. You weren't. I noticed people starting to shift. Not all of them. But enough. They followed the title. That's how it works. And I stayed where I was. Quiet. Observing. Adjusting. About a month in, I started seeing patterns. Small ones at first. Delayed responses from vendors. Misaligned timelines between departments. Reports coming in late, or not at all. Nothing catastrophic. Not yet. But the kind of stuff that, if you've been around long enough, you recognize. Like hairline cracks in a wall. Most people don't notice until something falls. I noticed. And I said nothing. Not out of spite. Out of clarity. He wasn't listening when I warned him. So I stopped warning him. Instead, I started documenting. Every change he made. Every deviation from the old system. Every time someone flagged an issue and it got brushed aside. Not aggressively. Just, quietly. Dates. Emails. Notes. Nothing dramatic. Just facts. Marissa would have called it overkill. I called it, staying ready. The turning point came on a Tuesday morning. Big client. High-stakes project. The kind that gets executives involved. Kyle had taken full control of it. "Gonna run this one my way," he said in a team meeting. "We need to show them we're evolving." I just nodded. Sure. 2 weeks later, things started slipping. Deliverables missed their windows. Communication got messy. The client, usually calm, started sending sharper emails. "Need clarification. Timeline doesn't match previous agreement. Who is leading this now?" I watched it unfold like a slow-motion replay. And I still said nothing. Until Kyle called me into his office. "Hey," he said, a little less confident than usual. "You got a minute?" "Sure." He closed the door. "This project, it's getting a little tangled." "A little." I leaned against the chair. "What do you need?" He hesitated. "Can you take a look? Just, see if you spot anything I'm missing." There it was. I met his eyes. "You want me to step in?" "Not step in," he said quickly. "Just, advise." I nodded slowly. "All right." I spent the next hour going through everything. When I came back, I didn't sugarcoat it. "You've got 3 overlapping timelines," I said. 2 vendors working off different specs, and the client hasn't signed off on the latest revision. He frowned. "That can't be right." I slid the documents across the desk. "It is." He flipped through them, jaw tightening. "So what do we do?" he asked. I leaned back slightly. "At this point? You either reset the timeline and take the hit, or you push forward and risk a bigger one." He rubbed his face. "We can't reset. Leadership's watching this." I nodded. "Then you push forward." He looked at me. "And you'll help me?" I held his gaze for a second. Then I shook my head, just a little. "I'll answer questions," I said. "But I'm not taking ownership of something I didn't build." Silence. It wasn't hostile. Just, clear. He nodded slowly. "Okay." Things escalated fast after that. The client requested a formal review. Leadership got involved. Meetings stacked on meetings. Kyle started looking different. Less polished. More reactive. He'd snap at small things. Overcorrect decisions. In one meeting, he interrupted me mid-sentence. "We don't have time to go into all that," he said, waving his hand. "Let's stay focused." I stopped talking. Not because I had nothing to say. Because I knew he'd just made a mistake. The major review meeting was scheduled for Friday. Big conference room. Glass walls. The kind where everything feels a little too visible. Leadership on one side. Our team on the other. Client dialed in. Kyle stood at the front, running through slides. I watched him carefully. He was trying to hold it together. But the cracks were showing. Questions started coming in. Why are there discrepancies in the timeline? Who approved this change? Why weren't we informed? Kyle answered what he could. Deflected what he couldn't. Then the client asked the question. Who was responsible for overseeing the operational alignment on this? Silence. Kyle hesitated. Just for a second. Then he said, "It was a team effort." Not wrong. But not right either. One of the executives leaned forward. "We need clarity, Kyle." He swallowed. I led the initiative. There it was. Ownership. Good. Now it was clean. The executive nodded slowly. "All right. Then walk us through how this got here." Kyle started explaining. It didn't hold. Too many inconsistencies. Too many gaps. Eventually, the questions shifted. Less about the project. More about the process. And that's when one of the directors turned to me. "You've been here a while," he said. "What's your take?" The room went quiet. Kyle looked at me. Not angry. Not defensive. Just, waiting. I kept my voice calm. Measured. "There were established protocols before this project," I said. "They existed to prevent exactly these kinds of misalignments." The director nodded. "And were they followed?" I paused. "Just long enough." "No," I said. Silence again. Not heavy. Just, final. I didn't add anything else. Didn't need to. The fallout was predictable. Not dramatic. Just structural. Kyle was moved off the project. Then, quietly, reassigned. No announcement this time. No applause. Just a calendar update and a shift in responsibilities. The project got reset. And this time, they asked me to lead it. Officially. No speech. Just a conversation in a small office. "We should have made this call earlier," one of the executives said. I nodded. "I understand." He looked at me. "Can you stabilize it?" I met his eyes. Yes. The next few weeks were quiet. Not easy. But controlled. We rebuilt the timelines. Reconnected with the client. Fixed what could be fixed. And when things finally started moving smoothly again, it felt right. Not triumphant. Just steady. Kyle stopped by my desk one afternoon. "Hey," he said. I looked up. "Hey." He shifted his weight. "I just wanted to say, you handled that well." I nodded. "Appreciate it." He hesitated. "I might have pushed too fast." I considered that. "Yeah," I said. "You did." He let out a small breath, almost a laugh. "Fair." We stood there for a second. Then he nodded. "Good luck with the project." "Thanks." He walked off. No hard feelings. Just understanding. That night, I sat at the same kitchen table. Marissa looked at me, waiting. "Well," she said. I shrugged slightly. "They gave me the project." She raised an eyebrow. "And the title?" "Not yet." She smirked. "Figures." I smiled a little. "It's fine." She studied me for a second. "You're different." "How?" "Calmer," she said. "But not the fake kind." I nodded slowly. "Yeah." Because it wasn't about the title anymore. It never really was. It was about being seen. Not loudly. Just correctly. A month later, they made it official. No big announcement. Just a meeting. A handshake. Senior operations lead. I accepted it the same way I'd accepted everything else. Quietly. On my way out of the room, I passed the same conference table where Kyle had stood weeks earlier. Same chairs. Same glass walls. Different weight. I paused for a second. Then kept walking. Because the truth is, I didn't let them fail. I just stopped holding them together.